This story is extraordinary. We've been, I have to say, dominating the show with this. We were talking about it when we first knew about the details of the attack last Thursday morning. This man, Abdul Azidi, on the run. But the information that's emerged about him in the following days, absolutely extraordinary, still on the run. But the fact that he was able to get granted asylum on his third attempt, the fact that he'd already had a conviction for sex assault, but it wasn't a penalty for over a year, so that was OK. He could still stay here. And the fact that he was able to use claiming that he had converted to Christianity, even though his friends and family in the UK say they think he's a devout Muslim still, that he was able to use that as part of his claim on the argument that if he's going back to Afghanistan, then he would face persecution for being a Christian. So many failures here, and now we know that certainly the Christianity aspect is being used elsewhere. Two former Home Secretaries, Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, have pointed out this is done on a mass scale now. 40 of those on the Bibby Stockholm barge, that's 1 in 7 of those asylum seekers on that barge, apparently converting to Christianity right now, says one of the members of the church who's been working with them. This is now yet another huge loophole. How long has this been going on, and how big and widespread do you think it is?
Yes, it's been going on for some time. It's no secret that the Church of England, the Catholic Church, the smaller evangelical churches hold views on illegal immigration that is out of sync with majority opinion. You know, that's beyond doubt. And yes, basically asylum seekers, you know, whether they've had their applications rejected or not, do exploit the hospitality and theology of the Christian church to boost their applications. But at the end of the day, you know, church leaders are not immigration officers.
No, they're not making the final decision. But that's the thing, isn't it? Fundamentally, it comes back down to the Home Office.
Yes, the most basic and fundamental question in illegal migration policy is this: if somebody enters your country illegally, can you deport them?
Yeah.
Now, the answer to that is quite simple.
I think it's a no.
Yes, in most cases, the answer to that is no, because of the Human Rights Act. And the Human Rights Act makes it almost impossible to deport somebody who has arrived from a country that's deemed unsafe.
But here's the thing, Mike. It was pointed out by one of our regulars on this show, Harjap Singh Bengal, who's an immigration lawyer, that we were able to deport, you know, 10, 20,000 people a year up to 2010. So it's not a post-Brexit thing. We don't have deals. It's not a change in the law, the Human Rights Act. It was just suddenly application of the law at some point around 2010 when the the Tory and Lib Dem coalition government came into force. And ever since then, we've pretty much stopped deporting people. What happened to change things then?
Well, there's an element of mission creep here, but the law facilitates this. So if you come from an unsafe country, or, you know, a country that's deemed unsafe by the authorities, then, you know, the whole legal architecture, the lawyers, the courts, the NGOs, they mobilize and they do as best as they can to stop the deportation from happening. And the longer that this goes on, the easier that this can happen. So essentially, if you take border control seriously, if you believe in the British national interest and you want to stop these inflows, then you need to change, amend or abolish the Human Rights Act.
That's what it comes down to. And that's where we are. And again, we just don't see the political will for that right now. Do we got the Rwanda bill going through? I mean, you know, we're going to be talking about that for time immemorial. And if and when there are any flights that ever take off, let alone if they take off before the next general election, we're going to see, you know, relatively speaking, a handful of people ever going to Rwanda. We know perfectly well that you know, people are going to be able to appeal this. And even if it does, it's not going to act as a deterrent. It's not like Australia where you got on a boat, you never set foot in Australia. The deterrent worked almost instantly. You know, that's not going to act as a deterrent. And so, you know, we are where we are. What do we do about all the people we've got in this country? We don't know where they're from. They might claim to be from Afghanistan or Syria. We have no idea. They don't. They get rid of their documentation. Many of them, it turns out, they've got convictions elsewhere. They're wrong-uns. I'm sorry, they're not people fleeing persecution. They're people either here as economic migrants or they're people who actually wish us ill. We've got people who've been involved in, you know, criminal gangs, shooting people, gang rapes, sex assaults, you name it. I mean, murder. And yet these people are still here. I think the British people are just saying we cannot understand the concept of having a nation state where we can't get rid of a foreigner who we don't want. I don't know what the meaning of a nation state or borders is if that isn't the case. What is the solution?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, look at the Safety of Rwanda bill. If you go through it in detail, what does it do? It actually disapplies sections of the Human Rights Act. It doesn't go far enough, in my view, and I think it's very flawed. But essentially, the legal architecture that exists in this country is incompatible with the basic functions of the state and the government, which is protecting your borders and deporting people who have arrived here illegally. And the Abdul Azidi case is, a classic case study in this. A convicted sex offender, twice denied asylum. He had this road to Damascus conversion to Christianity. He reapplied. He was given leave to remain, and yet he was allowed to stay. And he committed one of the most heinous and sadistic crimes you can think of.
It's a miracle that we didn't see a death last Wednesday night in Clapham. Here's the thing, though. I can understand some people in the church might be a bit gullible. That if someone says, what religion are you? If someone says what religion they are, if I say, well, actually, I'm a Christian, you wouldn't know whether I was a Christian or an atheist or anything else. You would have no way of knowing. There may be a gullibility in the church and a willingness, like they've lost so many people turning up in their congregations, they're willing to take anyone anyway. But I don't understand why Home Office officials, why the civil servants, the immigration officials making the decisions, I don't know why they're so gullible. Are they also part of this political agenda, which is basically everyone's welcome attitude?
Well, controlling legal migration is actually very simple.
They've not done
you can
that.
Impose legal migration is straightforward. You just require a few strokes of the Whitehall pen. You impose caps, raise thresholds. But when it comes to illegal immigration, the government is massively restricted in what it can do because it has not amended or abolished the Human Rights Act. So essentially, the Human Rights Act has de-democratized asylum policy, you simply cannot deport people from countries that are deemed unsafe. And there's much talk about lefty lawyers, activist judges, NGOs, the Blob, and so on. But ask yourself, why do these groups have so much power? Well, it's due to the legal framework that exists in this country.
And if you don't change that, nothing changes.
Yes.
Really good to talk to you, Mike Jones there from Migration Watch UK. Thank you for that.